Hello and welcome to another broadcast of Tap Into the Truth. This is your host, Tim Tapp, coming to you live from Roane County, Tennessee. Thanks for joining us tonight. We've got a lot on the plate, so let's go ahead and get started. First item on the agenda today, in case you've missed it, there is a new bill that's been introduced to the House. It's H.R. 140. Basically, this is a bill that's designed to try and help put an end to the anchor baby phenomenon. Bottom line is, there's a big movement, especially among the Asian community for whatever reason, where houses, hotels, residents are renting their positions out, especially out west. They go home and raise the child in their culture. Some actually hate America, and then they send them back as U.S. citizens when they're college age. This route to citizenship has no respect for our history and our culture. Bottom line is, Congressman Steve King, Republican from Iowa, announced the first immigration bill of the 113th Congress. It's dubbed the Birthright Citizenship Act, better known as H.R. 140, which requires at least one parent of newborns to be a U.S. citizen or a legal permanent resident in order for your child to receive automatic citizenship. Seen this message moving around several of the conservative message boards and blogs, trying to get support for it. The downside with this is probably we'll end up having to have a fight with the Democrats that would take it to a constitutional convention in order to get that actually with strength of law, because they're going to claim that constitutionally the definition of citizenship has already been decided, and any law that you attempted to pass right now to change those definitions would not stand up against the constitutional definition. Now, if that is the case, I don't know. This is not a situation where I would claim to have a real definitive answer. I do consider myself a bit of a constitutional scholar, thanks to Hillsdale College. But this is a question that I really wouldn't know, and I guess ultimately could be passed. Not that it would make it through the Senate anyway, but if it did, could be passed, could be challenged, and then the Supreme Court could make a ruling. I really don't know where that would fall, but at any rate, kudos for Congress to at least pick up the challenge of trying to put an end to the anchor baby phenomenon. In the offbeat today, as I'm sure most of you have heard by now, there's a nasty rumor going around that the White House is considering a trick, if you will, for trying to get around the whole debt ceiling issue in the event that Congress fails to act. And that is this crazy notion of a $1 trillion coin to be minted by the Treasury Department. As of right now, it is still just a rumor. I think the administration likes having that go around because it kind of makes folks look silly. And I think that also helps them to come up with some other possible idea as other people continue to try and come up with plan B's and C's for them. The big thing about what transpired, the questions were asked directly about that to Jay Carney on Wednesday, and they refused to outright deny the possibility. It's a strange idea in the first place, but the whole idea that's been floated around is that the Occupier's administration could pay its debts if Congress were to fail to raise the debt ceiling in the coming weeks. Now, according to Jay Carney, there is, quote, no plan B, there is no backup plan, there is Congress's responsibility to pay the bills of the United States. And that was all he would say. But when asked directly if the administration would rule out minting the coin, Carney didn't outright deny the option. He just responded by saying, quote, "You can speculate a lot of things. Nothing needs to come out of these speculative notions." So as long as Congress does the job, he said, there's no need to worry about it. The White House expects Congress to follow through. The option here is for Congress to do its job and pay its bills that have already been racked up. Later on in the briefing, Carney was pushed again to rule out the option of bending the coin, and he referred the question to the Treasury Department and again repeated that the president does not seek a backup plan for raising the debt ceiling. Asked if anyone in the administration is trying to figure out whether using the coin is a viable option, Carney responded, "Not that I know of." In the conspiracy corner, for those of you who know without a shadow of a doubt that the government is coming for your guns, here's a little more to chew on. An Iowa lawmaker has called for a retroactive gun ban, which would require confiscation of all semi-automatic weapons. In an interview with the Daily Times Herald in Carroll, Iowa, State Representative Dan Mullabar says governments should start confiscating semi-automatic rifles and other firearms. Not surprisingly, this gentleman is a Democrat from the western Iowa town of Manila. He's a cattleman and a farmer by trade, evidently. The newspaper reported that he owns a shotgun and a .22 rifle and a .22 pistol. We cannot have big guns out here as far as the big guns that are out here, the semi-automatics and all of them. Now, that's a really great quote right there. At any rate, this particular Democrat gave this interview to the newspaper back in December, and basically said we can't have those running around out here. Those are not hunting weapons. We should ban those in Iowa. Come on, at least be focused when you make these statements and at least be specific. But that's the problem. A lot of these people, and I have no intention that this gentleman, especially since he is not part of the national crowd, although he may be trying to get some name recognition by virtue of coming out strong, the folks at the national level do indeed deal with vague and non-specific definitions of what it is that they're coming after, because they want there to be room to interpret later more than originally was included. Well, Anonymous is also taking their wonderful brand of justice a step further, and now they're actually asking through petition through the White House website, which is getting just worn out here lately, in case you haven't noticed, ladies and gentlemen. The White House website for petitions, there are petitions about petitions about petitions to go along with all the original petitions. At this point, I would hate to have to be involved with IT for the website because it's just getting ridiculous. But Anonymous actually wants disruption of service attacks to be considered a form of free speech. Well, basically, its statement is that it's in no way any different than an Occupy protest. Not sure I agree, but anyway, the loosely organized internet philosophizers of Anonymous have decided to take a brief break from hassling Steubenville, the Westboro Baptist Church, and 100 more for a bit of good old-fashioned soapboxery. Anyway, according to the Daily Dot, the group has just launched a petition on the whitehouse.gov titled "Make Disrupted Denial of Service a legal form of protest. In short, they want the disruption of service attacks to be considered free speech, and they want anyone arrested for it released immediately. Is that a provocative idea? The petition demands this release, but it also contends that disrupted denial of service is not any form of hacking in any way. It is the equivalent of repeatedly hitting the refresh button on a web page. It is, in that way, no different than any Occupy protest. Instead of a group of people standing outside the building to occupy the area, they're having their computer occupy a website, basically to slow down or flat out deny service of that particular website for a short time. They make a pretty decent case once you get past the fact that this sounds a little like a 17-year-old would-be master debater arguing through his bangs with his Republican grandma about weed. Do they really? There is some merit to the argument, but this is that sideways logic that ignores the fact that your right to free speech ends at the next person's right not to have to pay attention to you. And in that way, some of the Occupy protests actually have defied what meets the legal criteria of an acceptable, peaceable demonstration. The bottom line is they're far short of the 25,000 signatures that's required for the administration to make an official response, unlike the official response that was released about the deport everyone's favorite CNN British host and commentator, as it would seem that Pierce has been granted a reprieve. Big surprise. And then the announcement basically quoted some blah 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 crappity, but no surprise. In the debate over the Second Amendment, let's not forget about the First Amendment. It was predictable enough. At least they do have some reasonable legal reason for denying it. Not that anyone really should have expected anything different to begin with. Also in the news, especially big if you're in Tennessee, it seems that the Nissan Motor Company will begin U.S. production of its all-electric Leaf. Basically, though, the crux of this, as far as conservatives are concerned, is the fact that yes, jobs are coming to Tennessee, and it's green. But guess what? Nissan is getting $1.4 billion in the form of a government loan. This is more Obama giving cash to the green agenda. At any rate, the Japanese automaker won an energy department loan in 2010 to build a battery plant in Smyrna, Tennessee. Smyrna is just down the road a little bit from here, in case anybody's wondering. And to retool to build the Leaf at its assembly plant next door. The Leaf will be built alongside the company's gasoline-powered products. Nissan says that it's the only automaker that manufactures its own electric vehicle batteries at the biggest lithium-ion automotive battery plant in the United States.